these randoms keep getting jobs. Don't worry about it. I'm going to say, I can't wait to sing it. I love it. I love it. Go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Not Bland Show, and I'm your host, Dujane Bland. And of course, we're brought to you by SportsJourney.com and Everything Nitro, and sponsored by Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. What a weekend in drag racing, huh? I mean, everything that you thought couldn't happen did happen. Some people took it the distance that maybe you thought shouldn't take it the distance, and they did. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Drag Race Mayhem. Welcome, Nitro Performance Guy. Appreciate it. And all those who come in, make sure you share this show. Make sure you like the show. Make sure if you are not subscribed and you're just lingering in the background and you like what you're hearing, give us a subscribe at the Not Bland Show on YouTube. It will be greatly appreciated. Look, we're going to talk a little NFL on the front side, as the NFL every week is something new. It's wacky. It's wild. You never know who's going to win. You make these picks and you think, hey, this is an easy pick. They should win. No, doesn't. Ask the New Orleans Saints. It's crazy. It's been a crazy year, but I love craziness. And so was the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza deal this weekend. It was crazy. It was wacky. It was wild. You got one more race, Pomona's coming up. And this from our sponsor is going to tell you how you can play.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
Make sure you guys get involved. And without further ado, we have our guy, one of the best in the business. He also works for Football Game Plan. As you can see at the bottom there, you can go to his podcast on Spotify, Chopping It Up with CJ. Chris, what's going on, baby?
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on, D.
Of course, man. Of course. Look, this has been one heck of a season here, and we run up on the trade deadline here. We see a team you know so well, the Saints, move Marshawn Lattimore. He goes to the Washington Commanders. We see a couple other guys move as well. The Cowboys get a receiver, as if that's the problem, but okay, whatever. And Jonathan Mingo, we see some pass rushers move. When you looked at everybody who made some moves, who do you think won today?
So then attention to this. If you see someone listed with a hamstring that didn't seem to injure in a hamstring, they're getting traded. That's happened like 4 times this year already. So
yes.
Teams that won. The Commanders actually were the team that won to me the most, because now whenever they need flexibility and they need someone to literally, if it's shadow, if they have some level of lockdown at situational points in the game, they have that in Lattimore now. They know that their competition is not just going to be in the NFC, but if they do a push to the Super Bowl, they know the AFC has a lot of number one receivers, and you need a high-level corner to actually affect those teams.
Yeah, that they have some big-time matchups coming up to Pittsburgh this upcoming weekend at home. Then they go on to take on, Jesus, I had the schedule in my head. I know it's the Cowboys, so you gotta deal with CeeDee Lamb. Right. Then you go on and you take on, I believe, the Tennessee Titans, who has Calvin Ridley that you have to worry about. So for a secondary that has kind of shown that they can give up the big play, he is huge because he doesn't give up a lot of big plays. He takes the ball away from you and he bats down a lot of balls.
Yeah. And the level of stress that's going to be put on him in this defense is lessened. In New Orleans, it was man coverage 90% of the time.
Yeah.
He was constantly asked to go lock down a guy all game. And now there'll be more scheme flexibility, and he can play in a level of a cover three as well. And he's a corner that's not afraid to come down and tackle.
Yes, sir. We got Kenny Smith in the building. What's going on, Kenny? Thanks for coming in. And we'll start right where I cover and you pay a lot of attention to as well in the NFC South. And the New Orleans Saints get rid of Dennis Allen after losing 7 straight, which I felt like they probably should have let Dennis Allen go 4 games ago. We can go back to last year and some of the things and some of the failures that happened, in his tenure here. Only 18-25 as the coach of the New Orleans Saints. This move had to be made. It came to a boil here after losing to one of the worst teams in the league right now, and in that division, the Carolina Panthers. Where does the Saints go from here?
So the Saints are already starting their journey into the next phase. See, there was an excuse to be made at every stage this year for Dennis Allen, whether it's the 2-0 start and an amazing start to it, the injuries on the offensive line, the injury to Derek Carr, and then finally everything came to fruition when you had a situation with a team outgaining a team by 150 yards, out rushing for more than 150 yards, and winning the turnover battle and losing 20 years. They're 75-1, and that one loss is by the Saints. You had to get rid of them at that point. You like organizational stability. The Saints had that for a very long time, but sometimes you need to change things. The Marshawn Lattimore trade shows you that they're trying to move on from that can they kick down the road, even with the salary cap. They're jettisoning that now, and they're going to turn over this roster. This was the start of that as they try to play out the season and hopefully get a few more W's to appease the fans.
Yeah, Kenny makes a good point here with some of the things that we see from Derek Carr. He has good moments, and then he has some moments where he's really not hitting the talent that he has out there at wide receiver. They are 2-7 right now. With that said, though, if they can start to get things rolling, they might have a shot at a wild card. It's going to be very tough to catch the Falcons, and we think Tampa Bay, with the way that they hung in with the reigning defending champs here. When is it time to say win with Carr and give Spencer Rattler a try? We had this conversation before we came on air, and I felt like Spencer has all the tools. He's capable of making very good throws. I just don't think they helped him as a young quarterback to be successful when they put him out there in relief of Carr.
Probably 2 of the 3 worst compliments for the offense that was available were the Spencer Rattler weeks. Basically, if you put Spencer Rattler in week 1 and week 2, they probably score a lot of points also with the full complement of offense. You put Carr in those weeks, and we probably lose both of those games that Rattler lost. At the end of the day, they can make a transition to Rattler this year in the last 2 weeks of the season. By then, you know what you have, you know what's going on, and it's almost a protective measure for the Saints and Derek Carr. If there's a team that's willing to give the Saints reasonable compensation and they can get Carr off their books, because his dead money cap, I think it's like $44 million next year alone. Then they'll do that. That's my thought, but I don't think anyone's going to do that. So you give Spencer Rattler 2 games with a reasonable level of the offense, let him get his feet wet so that in the next year it's an open competition. And if they finish off with a really poor record, it's an opportunity for the Saints to actually do something they haven't done since Archie Manning, and that's draft a quarterback in the first round.
Because that we know how organizations are, and that was under a different regime, and Spencer's going to have to prove himself in order for that not to happen. The division, though, ahead with Tampa and the Falcons, which I'm not surprised at. Everybody talked about their defense and the potential problems at linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, but I felt it started at quarterback, and a lot of their defensive woes were because the young quarterback that really should have never been drafted by them threw a lot of picks inside and giving opposing teams like red zone opportunities right out of the gate on the same side of the field a lot of times, and putting the defense in bad positions to make stops, and give up points. And that was a huge problem. Now you've got Kirk Cousins, the trap king Cousins out there throwing the ball around, making plays. This guy now allows this defense to eat because he's not putting them in god-awful positions every other down or for an entire quarter. They have stability now at the quarterback position. How far do you think this team goes given Kirk's track record?
The wild card round. I think they win the division and almost pretty handily given the injuries and also just the way their schedule breaks out. I think that they'll probably end up at 11-6, maybe 10-7 on the season, but probably 11-6. And then I think they'll have to play a team like a fully healthy Green Bay. And that's not a great situation for them.
No. Defensively, they are Jekyll and Hyde. They give up a lot of big plays in the middle of the field a lot. And that has been their Achilles heel with a lot of things that they do. I don't think they're as strong as they need to be at corner. And they don't consistently get pass rush, giving quarterbacks a lot of time. And we know quarterbacks having a lot of time, more than 7 seconds, your corner, somebody's going to get open. They can't cover that long. So that's going to be a difficult task in that. Looking at the Jaguars, and I've said it time and time again, Doug Peterson and his offense has an expiration date. And really, his whole entire spiel usually has an expiration date. We saw it in Philly. We saw it quickly in Indy, and now here in Jacksonville. Is it time for Jacksonville to move on, or do they have bigger issues that are looming?
Both things can be true. I think it's time to move on simply because if you even look at some of the press conferences, I will not say that there's a level of arrogance or anything like that, but there's a level of disconnect from when he's speaking about what's happening with the team, and we all have eyes. So
Yes.
we see the things that are going on that he just doesn't really own up to. So They may need to move on from him. Also, there's no continuity with the offense. It seems like they're just calling plays. There's not an actual cadence to anything.
Yeah.
So that's a problem as well. But the biggest problem is you overinvested in an offense and a quarterback that wasn't supposed to be invested in that heavily. Now you've played games with the defense, and the defense not as talented as you would have hoped that they were. So it's situational in the following respect. They're going to have to make some moves that are truly uncomfortable to get out of this hole. They already started with one, the trade to the Vikings with Cam Robinson, but they're going to have to move some of those defensive guys as well and kind of start over. Your staple guys. You can't get rid of Trevor Lawrence just because you can't. And you have Brian Thomas Jr. now, but on the other side, Josh Allen Hines, you might need to think about that piece being moved because it's a piece that you can get a lot for, but
Yes.
I don't think they'll do that. They don't want to pull the trigger on these moves that probably need to be made to reset, but they're not going to want to make.
Yeah. And it would be very easy for them to bounce back. This division isn't really all that good outside of Tennessee. I mean, outside of the Texans. Everybody else is not very good. It wouldn't take much to reset, or retool and come back. And you likely could make some noise in that division real easily. And really, if you look at the AFC top to bottom, they're not nearly as strong as they have been in years past. It looks like the NFC has been the strong division so far. And when you look at teams top to bottom in every division.
Yeah. And there's a sleeping giant for 2025 if things fall right for him in that division, in the AFC South. Do not sleep on 2025 and into the future, the Tennessee Titans, if they can land a quarterback like Shador Sanders or even Cam Ward.
Yeah.
It'll be a problem.
It'll be a problem. Oh, man. My thought is I hope Shador does not go to the Carolina Panthers. And yes, Scott, I thought they would be better this season too. Also hope that that Travis Hunter doesn't go there either. That's not a situation you want to be in. My man Tapper is the new Dan Snyder, and he's running that team right into the ground. I'm looking at this NFC North, and I know there's a lot of talk. I'm going to start with the Bears. I know there's a lot of talk about Caleb Williams and his play. He's not as accurate, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. His offensive line does not protect well. If he's not making an off-schedule play most of the time, he can't drop back 7 steps and expect to go through his progressions and make a play. It's just not capable, which I don't understand why Eberflus continues to drop him back 7 steps. Make this a 3-step drop, 1 or 2 read, and get the ball out of his hands, because obviously your offensive line can't protect. And I thought it was very irresponsible of them to keep him in the game in the last part of the game. The game is over, and this man takes an unnecessary shot. He gets up limping. This is your prize fighter. This is your gym. This is your face of the franchise. And you got him out here in garbage time. The game's over, and to potentially get hurt. Irresponsible by the coaching staff.
So it feels like everything's wrong there. So to your point, it's irresponsible, not just because you left your quarterback in. Certain quarterbacks you could leave in.
Right.
You can't quarterback in because he doesn't know how to cut off the hero ball. And that's not an insult. He wants to try to win every play, and he's going to do stuff even down 20 that he shouldn't do. So you can't leave that guy in. No. So you're seeing the same problem it's the same but different problem. Remember how Justin Fields was the issue with this, that, and the other, and he takes too long to get rid of the ball? And even with the new offensive coordinator, Caleb Williams takes too long to get rid of the ball.
Right.
It feels like there's no intentional easy button built in, or they're not telling their quarterbacks to use it often. Fields did last year with a different quarterback. I watched Caleb Williams pass up some easy balls, not because he's trying to be a superhero, because it's not taught as comfortable. And it's not ingrained as comfortable. Sometimes you got to give him just 2 deads. 1, 2. There's nothing else. Throw to one of those guys. Either that or the running back gets the ball. But if you give him 4 options, he's going to wait for whichever one opens up bigger. That's who he is. So make it easier on him.
Yeah, I agree. You saw that. I like Justin. I like to liken it to Justin Fields. Everybody talked about his success, but they set him up for success. It was pretty simple. They know that he struggles with accuracy, and you can see that when he drops back 5 to 7 and has to go through his progressions, he's not nearly as accurate. So to help him with that, they're going to roll you out to the left. They're going to roll you out to the right. They're going to give you a tight end short. They're going to give you a medium, and they're going to give you a deep. And if none of that's there, you run. That was it.
And that should have been the game plan for a quarterback like him at that stage of his career. Yes. With Caleb, his struggles coming out on film, he is deadly accurate. But you know what? His accuracy and his arm strength gets him in trouble because he's able to complete those throws in college. Yes. It's turned up in the NFL. And that's what will be the problem. So you've got to get that out of him by not giving him those options at this stage of his career. You have to get it out of him.
Yeah, because you're going to have another it's not Rex. It's the other Bears quarterback. Dang it. See his face too.
More recent?
No, way back. A little bit back. He was before Rex. They were actually on the same team, I believe. Jay Cutler.
Oh, good.
There you go. Yes.
Jay Cutler.
Yes. That guy liked to fit balls and he would force them a lot. And you got to get that out of a guy, because then it becomes his habit. And then that becomes an interception machine. And then you can't get it out of him.
And there's a clear disconnect between DJ Moore and Caleb Williams.
Yes.
And you saw it in that London game. There was a play where DJ Moore is streaking down the field on the left side, and he's open for over a second. Caleb Williams waited too long. He tries to throw it, and it's underthrown and picked off, but DJ Moore got hurt on the play.
Yeah.
And ever since then, nothing has been right with them. It looks like they're always off. There's a play where it looked like he walked off the field during this last game in the middle of a play.
Yes.
I think he was injured, but it's all bad right now. They need to fix that. And one of the ways to fix it, give him quick passes, get the ball in his hands, let Caleb see the ball get in someone's hands. And hopefully that fixes the problems.
Yeah, because that Hail Mary I knew would be a crusher, and not just in that game, but it would lead down the road in the future after the Hail Mary. Yep, it is bad all the way around in that one. San Francisco 49ers don't look like themselves, and I understand they've got some injuries, and they had some holdouts. First, I'll start with the holdout that I didn't like. Trent has done this on several occasions. He did it in Washington, and it kind of felt the same with this one. It's like, dude, you've had your share of money. It's not like you're broke. Your pockets are not empty, and you're complaining about cash. And I thought that threw off this season from the get-go because of that. And they don't seem like the same team. Is it injuries, or are we just seeing a team that is just not playing cohesive football like they did last season?
So injuries are probably the easy answer, because they've had a lot of them, and especially their second most. Trent Williams is, for all intents and purposes, in high-level games, their most important player, but Christian McCaffrey not being there also.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of elephants in the room. So one of the elephants in the room is you're basically doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result with every piece. And they're about to do something that the league does. See, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, those are the types of quarterbacks you pay a lot of money. They're about to pay Brock Purdy a lot of money. And though I think he deserves a middle-class quarterback contract like Baker Mayfield got, they're going to pay him an upper echelon amount of money. And he can't get that money, because how do you then? He's Brock Purdy because all the other pieces exist. When they don't, he's just an above-average quarterback that's going to make you 10-7 at best. And that doesn't get the job done. So they're hoping that Christian McCaffrey fixes all their problems, but a guy with calf strains that lasted 10 weeks, pop back in and be the best player in the NFL, or the Madden cover guy. This is going to be a long season for the 49ers.
Yeah. It's been tough. And with those calf strains, and he's been out as long as he has, I don't know if you come back and he's just the same guy he was before he left. And I do think they're missing Ayuk a little bit. But yeah, they don't look well, and it looks stale. And I hope that they're smarter than this, and they do the right thing and pay a quarterback what he's worth, not market value. Because I'm tired of hearing about the market. The market got the Giants in trouble for what I believe is a below average quarterback. We saw him at the Senior Bowl, and the same things exist, yet you ignored it. And then you not only ignored it, you got arrogant, and you let your prized piece, the reason why he was having so much success, and Saquon Barkley, go to the rival in the Eagles. You got real smart and real arrogant, and now you're paying for it. It's the most stupidest thing I've seen. And I'm tired of people, and I'm tired of other analysts and other pundits talking about market value. Somebody at some point's got to say, no, you're not market value, but you are right here, middle of the road type of quarterback, and deserving of that type of a contract. But you're not deserving of a Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, big time contract here. And as long as teams keep doing that, and usually it's the teams that really don't have good front office, they'll continue to fail and flop and go through coaches because of piss poor management of money. It blows my mind that all of a sudden for a quarterback is market value, but there ain't no market value for a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end. They're not respected at all.
So I feel like the Giants, I said this at the time and I stick to it. And sometimes I'm wrong. Often with quarterbacks, I'm not. At the time, both Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones were going through some contractual situations. And I said, I'd use the non-exclusive tag on Daniel Jones so that a team, if they really wanted to, could send 2 first-round picks and have them. And I would have been comfortable with him walking his tail out the door if he didn't want to take a below market value quarterback contract, because it does 2 things. It allows for the league to actually have standards where at the time, $50 million was the standard for excellent.
Yep.
40 was for really good. 30, I would have said slap in the face, but not $28 million per year.
Yep.
That's not a slap in the face. That's resetting the new middle class-ish, lower middle class of quarterback market. They refused to do it. They gave him $40 million per year. Now that $12 million that you could have spent on Saquon, who took less for a year to help you, nicer guy than I am, you still didn't pay him. And now you're watching him do things that no one else is doing, jumping backwards over people, because you made this mistake that you can't get from under and you won't fix because you don't want to, Giants.
Right. And it's all over Hard Knocks too. That's the best part of it. It's all over Hard Knocks. Absolutely embarrassing. I'll leave and we'll get you out of here after this. The New York Jets, an absolute dumpster fire. I don't believe Saleh was the problem. And it's obvious he's not the problem, because the problem is still going on. Again, they went and got a guy, an Aaron Rodgers, who everybody elevates and puts him in such high regard. I just don't believe in that. And here we are, again, a guy doing some of the exact same things he was doing in Green Bay late, not wanting to help guys out, not putting in the time and getting his receivers up to speed, blaming and pointing the finger at everybody else but himself. But this guy's throwing dirt balls. He's throwing balls behind people. He's throwing them too high. He's skipping them. And he has the nerve to look around and roll his eyes like it's other people's problem. I'm so sick of this guy not taking responsibility for the fact that, you know what, bro? You're 38 and you suck. You are just absolute god-awful. And the fact of that Achilles, you can tell he's scared to death, or it's just not what it once was, because he's not using it. He's not planting and throwing the ball with any type of, technique. He's using arm most of the time. It's awful. And it just proves that this organization just simply hasn't learned its lesson. And it's sad because the team is talented.
So I'll quickly use this analogy for it. So after I finished playing tackle football and my career was over because guys were way better than me, I started playing flag football. And you know what I could do? We go play in these state tournaments and national tournaments, and we play 4 games a day. I didn't have to do anything. Wake up, don't even stretch, go do it. Well, closer I got to 40, I'm 43 now. That didn't work the same.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is still trying to do the same stuff he was doing when he was 30 years old or 28 years old, when he could get away with it, because he was Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes existed.
Yeah.
He's still an excellent quarterback above the neck, but the body doesn't work the same way. And arrogance and entitlement only get you so far. Entitlement's my number one most pet peeve. But he didn't put in the work, not for himself. He didn't put in the work to show other people that he gave a crap.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's of the world, the Peyton Mannings, everyone looks at that. They always talk about not just their work ethic, but the feel that they have around him. I don't think he has that aura other than what he used to be, because, I mean, he didn't show up to the stuff. He put his life before everyone else. And if you want to do that, retire, bro. Go do that.
Agreed.
Because you don't need to hold us hostage to put up the same numbers, excuse me, worse than Zach Wilson did last year through the first 7 games of the season. They've looked better now. They have Adams. They have an all-star team of an effect, and they're still not that good on offense. It's insane.
One man starts at the quarterback, and that's why they're not that good. And it's sad. Jets organization can't possibly think that you can fire a guy 4 games into a stinking season, and you think that that's gonna help you. You're gonna all of a sudden turn this thing around. Nah. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers comes out and acts like he ain't had nothing to do with that, full of it. Had a lot to do with it. And you made your bed, and now you lie in it. And the sad part about this is they stink. And if they can win at least 3 more games, we're talking about them being back in the race of being in the playoffs, because that division stinks.
Hey, I have one message for Aaron Rodgers and for Jets fans, because he said it. RELAX. Just relax. Don't be upset when your receivers don't do exactly what you expect them to do because you didn't put in the work. Relax. Just take a breath. Just take a breath, bro. Relax. Can't do it.
I love it. All right, Chris, man, tell everybody where they can follow you at, and where they can get linked in and locked into your great podcast.
Sure. So you can follow me on, I'm going to say it like this every time, Twitter/X. I refuse to just call it one letter. My handle is at CJ Florida 9. It's at CJ, the entire state of Florida, spelled out in the number 9. The Chop It Up with CJ podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Pod, or any of your favorite podcasting sites. Also, if you're in the New York tri-state area, I'm on Pix 11 doing fantasy football predictions on NY Blitz. And I'm lucky enough to be invited onto wonderful shows such as this one. And you can find me around doing that.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. It's always a blast talking shop with you. I say it all the time, man. I'm glad that our paths crossed, and I'm better for that. So thank you so much, Chris. And we'll have you back on here real soon.
All right. Thanks, D. Blunt.
Chris James, everybody. Well, we're going to get into our drag racing portion of the show, and we'll do that right after the break.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
Well, it was quite the day for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It was quite the day for NHRA Play. And we welcome in one of the best in the business. He is the owner, founder of DragRaceReference.com. It's my guy, Dave W. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Beautiful day in Southeast Michigan. Nice 65-degree day. And even though it's dark way, way, way before I would like it to be, it doesn't feel like fall yet just because of the weather, but we only got a couple more days of that. Then it's going to be really cold, and the off season is going to be setting in.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's not quite cold here yet either. It's probably, I think it was close to 90 here today.
Oh, jeez.
It's disrespectful. It's real disrespectful. I'm getting a little bit teed off about this. It needs to be a lot cooler, a lot sooner. But off season's coming. But man, what a race we had in Vegas. A lot of the things that we kind of talked about last week came to fruition. A lot of different guys and girls that maybe others didn't expect to step up really stepped up their game this weekend.
Yeah, they really did. And some of the people that we thought might have had some career weekends ended up not. It was just one of those upside down Las Vegas 2-to-go races. And the weather had a huge factor in it. Track conditions had a huge factor in it. That track was on kill.
Man.
Huge kudos to the safeties for keeping it cleaned up after 2 massive rear end explosions on the top fuel side of things. But that allowed everybody to pretty much throw whatever they wanted at it, and the track would take it. And we saw some awesome racing because of it. And some killer upsets, really setting up one heck of a championship final in 2 of the categories, and some really killer upsets in 2 of the other categories that pretty much almost sealed everybody's fate.
Yeah, we'll start in top fuel. I said it. Brittany would come out here. Daddy was back. Thought that Grubnick would find his way, and they found a way. Even after they had to run it on Monday, and they still were able to get the job done. She was able to get the win. Man, I was hoping that Travis Shoemake would take and get his first win, but there are a lot of upsets here. Tony had an opportunity to make a move and kind of keep his name in this championship hopes, and Steve Torrance stepped up and got it. Wasn't much for Clay Milliken, though. Clay was able to get some things done. Justin Ashley is the biggest surprise. And 2 guys that can really get after it on the tree, him and Spencer went at it. And it was not to be denied for Spencer. And then he goes against another guy who has two guys who like to get after it on the tree, Sean and Justin. And Sean was like, not today, and put Justin on the shelf in round 2. That was huge.
Oh, and he did it in Justin Ashley fashion. He did it on a hole shot.
Yeah.
That tag team stepped up, 369. Thanks for playing. 050 light and a 369, and you're going home.
Yeah.
I mean, this is hardball. But again, like we talked about in the preview show, how you qualify, how the ladder sets up, and how you're going to end up facing your competition in early rounds is really going to be what sets this whole thing up, and going into Pomona too. And the fact that, number 4 and 5 in points had to race each other first round, you knew somebody was going to get their feelings hurt right then and there. And the fact that you had Justin Ashley and Sean Langdon, number 1 and 3 in points, coming together in round 2, it was somebody's chance to step up and make a move. And Sean stepped up, and he didn't make as big of a move as he would like, but he kept himself in contention, and it sets up just a myriad of scenarios coming into Pomona.
Yeah. I'm just blown away at what we saw. Your lowest qualified car was Josh Hart at 380 with a 1 at the 16th spot, but your top 4 were in the 360s. And then in order to break the top 10, you needed a 372 with a 7 to be in 10th. That was impressive stuff there. I know they kind of wet the bed in the night session on Friday a little bit there. But what are some of these scenarios that we're going to see come into Pomona here for the top fuel ranks?
Well, yeah, Q2 was a bit of a disappointment, but yeah, Q4, hate it for Billy Torrance and the fans that had that blown rear end, but man, those side-by-side 67 sure shuffled the field in that night session, and it allowed the ladder to play out the way that it did and the qualifying bonus points to play out that it did. So now, going into Pomona, you have 8 drivers. You have one half of the qualified field that can go into Sunday with a mathematical chance to win the championship. The last time that you had 8 drivers going into the field on Sunday that win the championship, 1973, because everybody in the field was in a contention for the championship. That was back when the winner of the finals was the world champ. Never in the history of NHRA had you had top fuel drivers that when we're counting national points, whether it's in the countdown or pre-countdown era, this many drivers in this greatest shape going in. So the biggest thing, we talked about it at Vegas, but it's even more important now. Every run matters, and it matters for every driver in this particular scenario, because Tony Schumacher needs to pick up 8 points on Justin Ashley in qualifying, or he's done. That's it. It's all over for him. He's got to pick up those 8 points. He's out. Brittany Force has to stay under 120. Justin Ashley has the advantage that between Antron Brown and Sean Langdon, they're right in the sweet spot in the middle that he can put a round on them. He can get them just enough to get to be over 60 points. But on the flip side, Antron and Sean can get it less than 30 because they're right in between there too. And if they do that, well, that's going to be a big help to them. And then you got 4th and 5th, Doug Coletta and Steve Torrance. They're tied at 85 back. Those 5 points mean everything to them, just as it does to Justin Ashley. They need to keep it under 90, but Justin Ashley's going out there going, no, we can get you to 92 and build me another round cushion. So everybody in this field has something to fight for. Clay Millican, 93 back. He needs those 4 points on Justin Ashley to get that round back. Qualifying at Pomona, all 4 sessions. I don't know what the weather's going to be. I hope none of them get rained out. Is going to be worth the price of admission alone if you went just for nothing but Top Fuel qualifying, because you have to go up there. You can't go up there with a race day tune-up. You can't go up there to test the track. You have to be set on kill and get every point you can every time you go up to that starting line. And it is going to be an epic battle, and it's going to really set the stage how the playoff picture comes into Sunday on where you even have a chance, how many rounds you are ahead or behind. And on top of that, if you got half the field that have a chance, you're going to have a pretty good chance. Some of them are going to race each other first round, and that's going to be big too. Somebody's getting their feelings hurt at Q1, Q2, Q3. I mean, we're going to be eliminating this field from the very get-go, and I can't wait. Top Fuel is going to be awesome at Pomona.
Man, I'm loving it. This is what you dream of. This is what the countdown is supposed to do. And I expect the stakes will be high, and the emotions will be too. We're going to use your question, Scott, for every category here. In Top Fuel, Scott says, who do you feel has the best chance to win Pomona?
And are we looking at the race or the championship? Because it might come down to both. I mean, you could have a scenario where you've got an Antron Brown, Sean Langdon final round, winner take all, depending on qualifying plays. I mean, you could have situations like that. Doug Coletta, Steve Torrance. I mean, who do you tip the nod to? I mean, who saw Brittany Force coming in, running over the field in Las Vegas?
Right.
And how do you go against her doing the same thing in Pomona? Because that team has got nothing to lose. They are just, let's put down low ET, let's put down top speed. And if the biggest detractor, I think, of most every team is going to be what kind of Pomona are we going to get? Is it going to be 70-degree Pomona, or is it going to be 90-degree Pomona? Because that's really going to be the biggest outcome. If we get cloudy 70 degrees, well, I'll tell you what, I'd look towards the bottom half. I'd look towards Clay Millican, Brittany Force. Some of those guys can go up there and really, really go out there and hurt some feelings. Don't know if it'd be for a championship or not. Justin Ashley, just by going a couple rounds, can put a lot of people out of it. I mean, if you had to make me pick, I don't know that I could. I mean, it would just be a complete stab in the dark.
Yeah.
I will say that Brittany Force wins the race and Sean Langdon's the champ. And that's just a complete guess.
That was my thought.
It's going to be all over the board.
Yep, on a guess. Based on what I saw last week, Doug Coletta's got a case of the yips, that Alan Johnson syndrome has risen. And for whatever reason, they also are hurting rear ends. From what I understood or I have heard, that it is a part that is malfunctioning that they're getting from the manufacturer. So that's
and
not.
To add to that, there was a rear end failure in Monday testing as well.
Again. Wow. See, that's a problem, and they've got to get that worked out. They've got an entire week off. They're off this week. Next week, we will be in Pomona running the finals, but they've got to get that worked out. And if it's a malfunctioning part from a manufacturer, then they've got to get all that sorted out. And that's going to be tough because that means that the manufacturer likely has a bunch of those sitting on the shelf, and they're going to have to create new ones. So how many of those are out there?
And it's not striking just one team either. It's striking multiple teams that are having these problems. That's the scary part. You never know when a mechanical gremlin can come up and take you out of this.
Yep, that's not good. And when you're talking about rear ends, that's definitely not good. That's one of the worst things you can have happen is to have one of those things explode. And you saw it. I mean, that's one of the worst things to hit the track is some gear oil. That'll ruin your day real quick. That's definitely not good, and hopefully that can be rectified. But I find that to be very difficult when you only got 2 weeks and your next week is race week. Drag Race Mayhem says they need to do something about the rear end failures. Having a delay that long is unacceptable, especially since they had a big crowd. Absolutely, I agree. It's one thing that is just one of these things about drag racing where you're going to have oil downs. They have every mechanism now to not completely drench the track and have to have that type of a long of a delay. But when it comes down to that, there ain't nothing you can do. And that stuff is awful to get out of a track and out of the pores of the track. So, yeah, they've got to get that rectified because we already know they're up against it in Pomona as far as curfews and things of that nature. So they can't have anything like that happening on any type of day for that matter. That would be disastrous. Looking towards Funny Car now, this thing, I guess we'll have to say, is pretty much in the bag. Now, of course, he's got to go out there, show up on Friday, put the car in the lanes, and pretty much go down the track, and he's your champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100%, but let's just say that doesn't happen. Let's just say Austin Prock says, let's take it off. If Jack Beckman doesn't go out there, win the race, low ET of each session, aside from one of them, and be number one qualifier, he still ain't going to pass him. So, I mean, we're only looking at 3 points. That's it. So if Jack Beckman leaves so much as 3 points on the table, it's over. So the long shots are there. Yes, officially Q1 on Friday, Austin Prock's your champ. But the big surprise is Jack Beckman in that whole shot loss in the semifinal round to Paul Lee because John Force Racing wanted nothing more than an all JFR final. Yeah. Not necessarily because John was there, because, I mean, obviously there's extra motivation for that, and everybody on that team was stepping up, and they had that goal on mind. But you put that much more space in between Jack Beckman and Ron Capps and Jack Beckman and Matt Hagan, third and fourth in points now, because they wanted JFR 1-2 finish. And Beckman going to the final and potentially winning it would have clinched a 1-2 JFR finish guarantee. Not saying that he probably can't go out and do the same thing in Pomona, but the pressures there a little bit more. Capps and Hagan have an outside chance of dethroning him for second. Not very likely, but there's always a possibility.
Yeah, they just haven't been consistent enough, especially Matt here coming down the stretch of the playoffs. That's been tough for them. Kenny Smith says, what's the next race? I want to watch it. I want to get into the sport. Your show is helping me understand better. I appreciate it. The next race is going to be Pomona next week. I will look up the TV schedule here for Pomona. And let's see where we're at. We go all the way down to the bottom here.
Sure on the Eastern time zone, it's going to be pretty late in the day since they're racing out on the West Coast.
This is the final. So the Mission Food Series will be on FS1 Sunday, November 17th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that will be on FS1. The finals will begin at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. to 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern on FS1 as well. So you will have those there. The qualifying show will be one show on Sunday. Sometimes they show them as they are going, but there's no live thing there. If you want to watch it live, you can download NHRA TV, and you can buy just this race, and you can watch it in real time on NHRA TV. That's the way I consume it. It helps me to cover it better. And if you're willing to, want to see it live and you don't want to wait until the broadcast, you can do that. But it will be, I'll give you the dates again. It is Sunday, November 17th. We will have a 10 a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. That will be your qualifying show on Sunday on FS1. And then Sunday, November 17th at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern will be the start of the finals on FS1. So it will be a one heck of a finals. And if the weather is what we think it is, man, it's going to be some numbers put up there, as there were numbers put up here in Vegas. So looking at this funny car race and all of that, I'm interested though to see, if Paul Lee didn't baby out and came out and finished the season, he could have been a real spoiler. I mean, they came out here and put on one hell of a show. Johnny was in his bag this weekend.
Oh, they were running the thing like they were saying over and over, a 380 bracket car. Put 386 on the window and send it out there and go. And that final round would have been a lot closer than it looked, but it looked like there was a hole out from the hit on the right side, and they ran that thing on 7 cylinders. It looked like most of the track all the way down to that 398. So even on 7 cylinders, it wasn't happy. It was laboring down, but he could have gave Proc a run for his money. And I mean, resetting your career best with that 383 to big mile an hour. And the biggest takeaway for me is being able to get the thing down the track that many runs in a row. That is what is impressive on all conditions, on all track fronts. You're not going out there and smoking the tires 60 foot out. You're going out and you're making solid passes every time you bring the car to the starting line. And that's what makes you dangerous.
Yeah. And a lot of people haven't been able to do that the entire season, and they were able to do that. We saw Dave Richards even having a day out there and putting up some numbers that they haven't done all season long. It's unfortunate that the Mike Dunn car or the Jim Dunn car could not get it done. No pun intended, but I mean, it's a bit shocking when they're in the same situation that Dave Richards is in with new parts and wasn't able to get it down the racetrack enough to even get into the field. That's disappointing.
It was a shame. I mean, it was a tough field to make. Shout out to the entire funny car category. Second quickest field in history. Was still a couple away from making that all 3 second field that we thought was pretty much going to happen.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to the independent racers that came out. Jeff Deal did not qualify into 3s, but he did run one of the eliminations on a losing run. Jason Rupert going out there and hitting the 3s. I mean, just career best after career best going out there. Tim Gibbons with a 402. A lot of guys, and that's you say it's a shame that the Jim Dunn car and Buddy Hull, they've run that quick before, and you would have figured that would have been a 3 second car and he would have been in the show. That's a tough break for them, and I'm sure they're going to be looking at coming back to Pomona and rebounding and getting in the field and making a good showing to close the season off with.
Indeed. We'll see how it goes in Pomona. This class, Pro Stock, though, also another class that has a lot of drama. We thought Greg Anderson would do his thing. Could not get around AA, though, but we thought Greg Anderson would come out and do his thing here. Just not quick enough on the tree. Ran a 6:59, won in the final. and was 0-43 on the tree. You already know Aaron Stanfield was murderous with the 0-23. Ran a 660 with a 6 to win the thing. It's a bit embarrassing to have basically he had the best car all day. It got better as the day went on and could not seal the deal. That's going to be the issue with him if he wants even to smell a shot at getting a championship.
Well, the sad part is that was his worst light of race day. If he would have had any of his other reaction times in any of the other rounds, credit where credit's due. He was knocking out 20s in qualifying, 0-37 in the first round against Chris McGahey. He gave up a little bit, but he knew he could get it back. 0-26 in the second round, 0-21 in the semis, and then 0-43 in the finals when it counted the most. But again, the class is tough. I mean,
it is.
It's not. Justin Ashley is known for just absolutely mowing down the tree, and he had an 0-50 light and went home. It was his worst light of the entire countdown, they were saying, and it came at the worst possible time. And for Greg, man, what could have been for that Vegas deal. But he's not out of it yet. He's 56 back. Qualifying is going to be the utmost importance for him and Pomona, just like we were talking about on the Top Fuel side of things. You cannot get more than 60 points back. He is too far back to make up a round in qualifying. He's not going to get that back, but he's got to keep it under 60 to keep his chances alive. And with the way that they had the car set up in Vegas and being low ET at the sessions, I mean, I don't see that changing when we go to Pomona. I feel like he's going to be probably one of the top couple of qualifiers, and it's just going to be, again, how does this field play out? How does this ladder play out? And, I mean, Aaron Stanfield did himself a huge favor in that final with his clutch foot. But the biggest shock was Aaron Stanfield's teammate on the elite side of things and how that first round played out with Christian Quadra basically putting the points leader on the trailer first round was what blew this thing wide open. And even with an outside chance, I mean, Erica, she got beat in the second round here. She didn't do herself any favors either. She has a shot if she can gain 9 points in qualifying in Pomona on Aaron Stanfield. She can go into race day with a chance. They can't get out of round one, but at least she gives herself a chance. It's very, very high long shot odds. I don't see it happening, but man, Dallas's first round loss, Greg and Aaron in the finals. It's going to be a 3-horse race in Pomona, but likely 2. And the both of Aaron and Dallas being 32 points apart, qualifying is huge because you were either on the same round or one round behind. And that's going to be where the difference comes in.
Wow. I mean, a lot of cars showed up. The Quadra boys showed up, and really David was trying to take a shot at the tree, and he just needed to do what you've been doing. His last round light was an 0-20. So you didn't need to get too far up on the wheel for Stanfield. If you get it in the 20 range, you give yourself a shot at beating him. It didn't matter anyway because it shook the heck out of the tires anyway. Both of them did. It was funny to see them coast. It's like, I hadn't realized that David had gone red. And I'm like, man, if he just had a little bit more momentum, it'd be like a coasting race to the finish line. I wonder what would have happened if they both went green and they shook the tires and coasted, but neither one of them could cross the finish line.
I'm in the same boat as you. I wonder which one of them would have had the thought to jam that thing in second, third, just get it in A gear and get it moving down the track, because I'm pretty sure that they were probably on the radio. David probably saw the red light and they were on the radio to Aaron going, Aaron's probably looking down, seeing his wind light on anyway. No sense in getting back after it. And that would have been a very interesting one to play out. And I don't know that David would have thought to jam it in a gear and kept going. I think Aaron might have, found a gear and maybe ran a 9 or 10 second ET, but he would have got it to the other end.
Yeah. That was fun to watch. This one's going to be fun to see how it all pans out in Pomona. One of 2 classes that really have drama You look at Pro Stock Motorcycle, and Matt didn't do himself any favors again. And this is pretty much shout out to Chase Van Sant too, man. Like, Chase has kind of got Matt's number a little bit. That bike really stepped up this weekend. And I think they're going to be pretty fast in Pomona as well. But they stepped up this past weekend. And because of that, this is all Gage now. Richard didn't do himself any justice either. Had a great light against Hector, though. Just didn't have the bike. The bike just wasn't there. And it's sad because in round one, Richard ran a 689 with an 8. That would have been enough with his ET, with his reaction time in round 2 to beat Hector. He ran that 694 with a 5. Now, was it the bike? Did he miss a shift? You know what I mean? Is there factors in that? I don't know. But bike definitely slowed down and at the wrong time. And there went his chances for championships. So basically, we're going to crown Gage Herrera again for a championship.
I mean, it basically boils down to it's all numbers, it's all math. Matt Smith can get to within 120. That is a possibility. If he goes out there and he dominates qualifying, he get it to under 120. But all Gage has to do is turn on a round 1 win light. No matter what anybody else does, that's his path to the championship, is 1 win light away. And hope that we're going to have a full field of 16 motorcycles in Pomona. But if we don't, all he's got to do is qualify number 1 at that point, because then he gets a gift. So, but yes, that's pretty much Gage's path, is just 1 win light, and it's over no matter what. Or as soon as Matt Smith loses, it's over no matter what. Either way, Gage Herrera is going to be without a doubt your 2024 Pro Stock Motorcycle back-to-back world champion. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but again, Matt's been doing what Matt's been doing all season long, and he's really taken himself out of the equation a lot of times. And Memphis Lonnie, yes, all he has to do is pretty much show up on Friday, roll to the line, and make a hit, and it's over. So that will be sealed up, and on Friday he'll be hoisting that trophy and getting his little jacket, and John Force Racing will have a championship there. He mentioned the 340 deal here at Pomona, the shutdown being short. Do you think that'll play a factor? Do you think they try to go after it, or you think that's pretty much in the bag for this year and they're going to pick it up and try to do it next year?
I mean, Pomona is a speed track. Brittany went 338 there. I mean, we've seen some big funny car miles an hour, but not like we've seen at some of the other places.
Yeah.
The way Tasca is kind of falling off at the end of the year, I think they're in test mode. I don't really think that they are really even in 340 mode. I mean, look at how much they struggled in Vegas. Vegas would have been a place to do it. The thinner air, the altitude, the dry air, less drag on the body. They probably could have went into Q4 with that 340 tune-up in it if they weren't struggling just to make the show. And as it was, he went 385, but the speed was way down, comparatively speaking, from what they usually run. So you know that they were in it for the ET, and they were just trying to have a representative run to get down the track. Is the 340 out there this year? I don't think so. I think we have seen all of our best opportunities for it to happen come and go, and I think that's going to be a 2025 question.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we weren't able to see that. Maybe they'll start the season off the way they did last year and do it in Bradenton, as Pro Promotions will be putting on the Pro Superstar Shootout, which will be sponsored by Redline Oil. You can hear all about that revelation late in the Power Hour, which will be coming up at 9:00. Our first guest will be Buddy Hull, and we'll be asking him about his first year in Funny Car, and we'll be talking to him about the show that he's been hosting, Talking Funny Cars with Buddy Hull. So tune in to the Power Hour for that. Your boy will be leading the way as Monday Morning Racer is traveling. He is Where's Waldo right now. He is doing fine, though. He is healthy. Yeah, he is in travel, so I will be holding it down on the power hour. So should be fun with that. Man, this has been one heck of a season. I tried to snag Brittany today, but she's got so many shows she's going on that she needed a break. So maybe next time for us. But yeah, man, this has been one hell of a season. And I love the fact that at least 2 categories are coming down and going to have a ton of drama coming into this and make it worthwhile. I think Drag Race Mayhem said it. It's one for the history books. Probably the best funny car countdown we've seen and championship race we've seen it maybe in history with the way this stuff is playing out in those classes. So, man, I'm super excited to see what's going on. I just hope the weather cooperates.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that's a big factor. I mean, you hope the weather's good, but if the weather's nasty, I mean, we've gotten rainy, miserable Pomona too, and if you lose those qualifying sessions, you lose a lot of drama and a lot of chance to make up some ground. So no bonus points awarded to an incomplete qualifying session, keep in mind. So if we only get 1 shot or 2 shots at qualifying, that's up to 8 points on the high end that somebody's missing out on. So they need to get rid of qualifying points. It ruins championship battles, especially in drag racing, a sport that's about side-by-side competition, not land speed racing. Well, then if that's the case, you might as well get rid of qualifying anyway and just draw numbers out of a hat to figure out who's going to race who. I mean, we got to go out there, and that's the whole point of qualifying is to make the race. You got to be one of the 16 best, and especially when you got these West Coast races, and they showed out in Pomona, 21 funny cars and 19 top fuel dragsters. I mean, it was a race just to make the show. You had the 8th quickest field in top fuel history and the 2nd quickest field in funny car history. I mean, these guys are you have to be one of the best of the best to make it. So you got to have it. It's an extra way of rewarding, and you can't do just eliminations only, because if you do just 20 points around, well, where's the little points come in? Where do you break the ties? Where do you have the position shuffling? You should be rewarded for your ability to perform and ability to perform consistently. So yeah, I think so. I think that the highlight of it is the fact that they seemingly have gotten rid of, and I don't know, I thought it was just for a finals, but maybe it's for an entire countdown, the points penalties for oil downs and centerline violations, because neither Sean Langdon nor Doug Coletta received them for their antics there in the semifinals, because that could have been a season killer for both of them.
I'm surprised at that, because how far he came over would be considered an egregious violation. It wasn't minor.
Well, I don't do you lose points on your first one? Is it 5 for the first one, or is it nothing? Is it 5, 10?
I don't think it's anything for the first one.
I thought for the center line it was 5, 10, 15 just at that particular point.
For the center line, yes.
But on the oil down side of things, and I'm sure that they would have charged Doug with that exploded rear end. And shout out to the safety safari for getting that lane and that track back in shape. I talked to a member of the team who on Sunday night, as of 10:30 Eastern time, they said they threw in the towel. They were not even able to clean the track completely on Sunday night because of how cold the track temperature got. And I don't know if anybody saw on the weather, but Las Vegas had a wind advisory through Sunday evening too. The winds were picking up and gusting, and it just made it impossible to do anything with that. It would have made racing impossible, even if they got it to be back in satisfactory condition, to be honest with you. So the right call was made to finish it on Monday. It sucks, but it took them to Monday. They couldn't go out there until Monday morning to completely scrape and clean and get that lane taken care of again. And Doug's rear end explosion was obviously much bigger than Billy's was. So you hate to see it. But I mean, shout out to them for doing the best and making the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, definitely. That situation reminded me of I believe the Gainesville situation 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 2019, where we had the unusually cold weather, had to stop qualifying early because the bikes were basically in the dark. The track had gotten cold. It had gotten cold. It was going to be 20 in the 20s that night. Yeah. We got there Sunday morning. The track was, You talk about a green track, man. Like, I have never seen a track that just had black film on it and you could see the concrete at the bottom. I looked at that track. I think I still have a picture of it somewhere. And I looked at that track. I'm like, there's no way anybody's running down that. And then Trip Tatum goes right down the track, runs big number, big speed right out the gate. Like, that was that. You don't see those situations happen very much, but it makes a huge difference there. And Lonnie, even if he goes on a big wheel, he's still winning the championship.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That the Division 7 top alcohol division this weekend was pretty loaded. Pretty cool stuff happened there as well. I was glad to see all the cars that did show up for that. Usually you don't have that many, and the field was pretty stacked this weekend.
No, 25 top alcohol dragsters was the biggest field for the first time in a long time. So they showed out in droves, and just qualifying for that field was epic. And the fact that Sean Cowie and Julian Atas made it to the finals, and both of them were in championship contention. A lot of them, there were no less than 8 drivers that went into the day still with a shot at a national championship. And a lot of them had their hopes dashed early because that was one of their last national events they can claim. Both Julie and Sean have a national event left, so they can go to the In-N-Out Burger Finals at Pomona and have a shot at the championship. But there's a lot of guys that are in the top points that are just going out to play spoiler because they've already ran up their allotment of divisional and nationals. So they're just trying to go out there and play blocker and hold their position. But it's going to be an epic showdown between some of the top, drivers there in Pomona for a championship in a lot of the sportsman categories.
Yeah, indeed. And I'll leave you with this, Drag Race Mayhem, on that. I get that, but that whole and like the Nitro Performance guy said, the racers in the race is important to me because so often I've been in the past, being a fan in the early 2000s where you go to qualifying and it's a smoke fest. Now, that makes it so it does matter. So you can't just go out here and just miss on every shot or basically every shot and then have to leg it down there in one of the qualifying rounds to get in. And it makes for a crappy show for the fans. And I think the fact that you have the Mission Foods, Too Fast, Too Tasty, I think the fact that, with these qualifying points and it start to matter to people positioning, you start to see folks not going out here and looking to load it up or do something ridiculous and not make it down the racetrack. Each and every guy and girl and every crew chief is trying to hit the number so they can get those extra points, those bonus points, because they know how much they matter, especially in the big picture. So I think it makes it great for the fans so you can actually have action, and it makes it great for the racers because there's actually competition, whether we think so or not. There's actually competition in qualifying because they're trying to get those points. They want to be the low for the session. They want to get those extra points because they know how much those points matter. Yeah, that is surprising, but again, it's kind of like the referees not getting involved in letting the guys play in the big game. So I kind of understand that not having a championship decided by a parts failure makes sense. And thanks a lot, Nitro Performance guy. I appreciate that.
Well, and to further the qualifying point part of it, you could say, well, you shouldn't be able to gain a whole round if they were less points that you could do it. But Matt Smith only needs to make 3 points to gain a round. So the amount of points that you need to gain a round doesn't always necessarily correlate to a huge jump in qualifying. Some guys only need 2 position points, and then that's enough to make a difference on race day. So they're there to stay. I mean, maybe the session points, no, but the position points, yeah. I mean, you should have some type of reward for your performance and your ability to perform on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and it does give sponsors attention, big time. Let everybody know what's going on. I know you guys do some shows as well, but let everybody know what's going on with you and DragRaceReference.com.
Look for a big off-season update with a lot more detailed round-by-round results, a lot more detailed lists to be able to check driver rankings, round wins, low ETs, top speeds, number one qualifiers, because there's a lot of drivers that are making moves that most people don't realize. Like, for example, Gage Herrera, that was his with his 18th career win here. Or I'm sorry, 20. No, I'm sorry, not 18, 21st. He is solidly in the top 10 all-time pro stock motorcycle wins list. And he's almost halfway to number one as far as how many wins he's got. And he's got 2 full-time seasons. So this kid's going to be something to watch chasing history. He's going to quickly start moving himself up the ladder. There's a lot of guys that are making history. Greg Anderson's only 7 number ones away from the all-time record set by Warren Johnson all those years ago. So if you like the statistical side of stuff, if you like chasing history, if you like seeing where people stand and why stuff is so important, you can find details in anything. And that's my goal, is to present that and put that out there so people can have a place to find it and follow it. And hopefully give you a little more interest in the sport and in your favorite driver, and watch them move up the ranks and where do they rank against everybody else in the history of the sport.
Yeah, it's made a big difference for us people in the media. And, it's something that's been needed for a long time. And I'm glad it's you, your attention to detail on that thing. And
Thank you.
your attention to detail on just this sport, your passion for it, it shows. And, I greatly appreciate that, brother.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being able to have me on shows like this and voice my opinion and get to talk about the drags. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'll be tuning into Power Hour here in about another 40 or so minutes to hear some more.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Dave. And I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, sir. Good night, everybody.
Dave W., everybody. Man, what a show today. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Memphis Lonnie, Scott, Nitro Performance guy. We had Kenny in the building. He's a football guy. We've transformed him into watching drag racing. That's the goal. That's what we try to do here. We try to teach. We try to help you learn, whether it's football or whether it's drag racing. We try to make this a show that teaches and helps educate individuals to help them better learn the sport and understand why certain things are done on the field or on the racetrack. So I thank you all so much. And those who watch in the background, those who may be watching this later and you don't comment, thank you so much for watching the show. It is a blessing and a great privilege to be able to do this, and to have you guys support it means a lot. But thank you to Sports Journey for giving me the opportunity. Been here for, I think, man, it's over almost close to 20 years now. It's been an incredible ride, and it keeps getting better. We got a lot of stuff on sportsjourney.com that you can check out. As you know, I cover the NFC South. So a lot of stuff, new stuff up right now on sportsjourney.com. Thank you to Everything Nitro. And of course, thank you to our sponsor, Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Man, it's been super awesome to have them on board. We're going to keep running that commercial all the way through until next season. And we're going to keep promoting it. And you see, it's helping because people who watch football are now getting involved in drag racing. And that is our goal here. Again, thank you so much for watching the show. This has been the Not Bland Show, and I'm your host, Dujane Bland. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Not Bland Show. Good night, everybody.